Okay, so quick disclaimer. I am a mama of 5, and this is my real home, and I have 5 real kids. And so if you hear background noise in my YouTube videos, that's because I film when I can in the middle of my real life. So I hope that you will excuse the background noise, and if that's something that you just can't bear, then I guess you'll have to find someone else to learn about fresh milled flour from. If you've been thinking about milling your own flour at home, but you're wondering what does it actually look like day to day? Is it loud? Is it messy? Is it complicated? Is it even worth it? In this video, I'm not going to walk you through buttons and settings. I want to show you exactly what milling your flour at home really looks like in a normal kitchen. How long it takes, how you store it, how you fit it into your schedule, and what you actually need to get started. And if you're into learning more about fresh milled flour, be sure to subscribe below for weekly videos. So one of the biggest misconceptions about milling your own flour is that you need a whole new kitchen setup. And you don't actually. You only really need 3 things. You need a grain mill, you need wheat berries, and you need an airtight container to store your wheat berries in. That's it. You don't need a bakery, you don't need a walk-in pantry, you don't need 15 different types of grain to get started. Just those 3 things. So for a grain mill, I personally use the Nutri-Mill Classic. It's the one I found to be reliable, efficient, and simple to use. I'll link the exact one that I use below so you can look at the details and see if it's a good fit for your home. And then you're going to need wheat berries. Hard wheat for bread, soft wheat for lighter baked goods like cookies and pastries. And then you're going to need airtight containers to make sure that you store them properly. I store mine in 5-gallon buckets with Gamma seal lids, and I keep mine in a cool, dry place. Actually, I keep mine in my bedroom closet. Once you have those pieces in place, you're fully equipped to start milling flour at home. It's much simpler than most people think. So one of the questions I actually hear a lot is, how do you fit it into your real daily life? And for me, it's not something separate from my day. It's woven into it. I homeschool my kids, so my days are full, but I've learned that mixing flour takes just a few minutes. I'll often mill grains and mix dough in between lessons. While the kids are working independently or reading, I'll step into the kitchen and mill what I need and start a batch of dough. It doesn't take over the day, it becomes part of the rhythm. I make sure we always have sandwich bread in the house, and that usually means baking 2 to 4 loaves per week, depending on how quickly we go through it. My go-to recipe for fresh milled sandwich bread is linked below. You can also find several fresh milled recipes on my blog, chasingoursimple.com. Instead of seeing that as extra work, I see it as part of how I care for my family. I also try to bake smarter when I can. If I'm making muffins, bagels, or cookies, then I try to make a double batch. That way I can always freeze the extras. On busy days when I don't have time to bake, I can pull something from the freezer and still have something homemade. Milling flour supports that rhythm. I mill what I need for the time being, bake in batches when possible, and build convenience into my kitchen in a way that still aligns with our values. It's not about baking all day. It's about creating a system that works for you and your family. Okay, so another big question that I get is, how do you store flour once it's milled? Well, most of the time I mill what I need and I use it right away. But if I mill extra, I store it in a labeled freezer bag and keep them in my freezer. For example, this is what I use to feed my sourdough starter. Instead of milling just a few tablespoons every time I need to feed it, I keep some fresh milled flour in the freezer ready to go. It saves time and it keeps the process simple. When it comes to storing wheat berries, I keep a bulk supply in airtight 5-gallon buckets in a cool, dry place. Actually, in my case, it's my closet. I'll link the video about my wheat berry storage below so that you can see my exact setup. But in my kitchen, I keep glass jars filled with wheat berries that I refill from those buckets as needed. That way I'm not hauling buckets out every time I want to bake something. It's like a layered system. Bulk storage in the closet, daily use jars in the kitchen, extra milled flour in the freezer. Nothing fancy, just practical. And once you set up a system that works for your home, milling flour becomes part of your normal routine, not something that feels complicated or overwhelming. So after all of that, the question actually becomes, is this something that you can realistically sustain? Because that matters more than anything. Milling flour at home isn't helpful if it becomes another overwhelming project that you abandon in 3 months. For me, the reason it's sustainable is because it doesn't add hours to my week. It adds intention to something that I was already doing. I was already baking bread. I was already baking muffins. I was already feeding a sourdough starter. So milling flour simply became the first step in that process. It only takes a few minutes. It fits between homeschool lessons. It fits into the weekly baking rhythm. And over time, it stops feeling like an extra step and starts to feel more normal. I don't meal because I'm extreme. I meal because I care about feeding my family well and about using whole ingredients. And once you have simple systems in place, bulk grain stored properly, jars in the kitchen, freezer flour ready to go, it becomes really manageable. You don't have to do everything. You can start with 1 loaf a week, 1 batch of muffins, 1 small shift. Sustainability isn't about doing the most, it's about doing what you can consistently. So if you're thinking about getting started, but you still feel unsure about which grains to buy, how to store them, or how to actually use fresh milled flour in your baking, I created something to help you. Grab my free 5-day fresh milled flour quick start guide below. It walks you step by step through everything you need to confidently begin without feeling overwhelmed. And if sourdough's your goal, my course Grains to Loaf takes you from grain selection all the way to baking beautiful, nourishing loaves with fresh milled flour. You don't have to figure it all out alone. Start simple, build a rhythm, and let it grow.